Hello everyone, this is part 7 of What If Naruto Loses Control, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Things had progressed further than Kakashi had expected in the first 3 weeks after Naruto was released from the maximum security penitentiary he was sent to. In the first week, Kakashi had been given instructions by the village council to test his new team out. They wanted to know how well the kids could use their Sharingan. And after that meeting was done, Kakashi was given the scroll with the orders to release Naruto from prison. Like the Hokage had told the boy, he had to still serve some time for his crimes. They had taken Naruto down under the earth so deep that the tunnels leading to his cell were carved out of bedrock. Chakra-draining chains had been attached to his arms, spreading them wide, and shackles had him chained to the floor. And if that wasn't enough, the floor itself was glowing from the incantations being whispered by the three-man ceiling squads that were watching him 24/7. It was the most constricting feeling Naruto said he had felt since he was a baby, and I'm not sure if he meant that as a warm memory or not. Kakashi let him go after he told him where to meet up with the team in the morning. The next day, Kakashi met his team back on the training ground where they had their first mission together, the bell test. And groans carried to Kakashi's ears at hearing they would have to go through the test again. But each of them focused and activated their Sharingan after hearing Kakashi explain, "You're not the same little brats that we met after your graduation, you're not the same team." And to that fact, Team 7 has been officially disbanded. So now, since we have a new team in the books, you must pass my test to become the new Team Sharingan. And with that last word, Kakashi had lifted his headband to brandish his own Sharingan, and when the kids activated the dojutsu, the feeling of Sharingan facing Sharingan made them each sense a loud vibrating VWEEN run through their chakra. Naruto and Sasuke rushed forward to strike. Sakura made a hand sign and sent a genjutsu to Kakashi. The Jonin watched the boys closing in and felt his legs sink to his knees in the ground. Looking up at the boys as they bring kunai down on his throat, he says, "Just kidding," and puffs into smoke to leave a log behind. Naruto and Sasuke turn back to back with eyes wide and heads scanning the area. With their Sharingan, they see Kakashi looking at him from around the bend of a tree 40 yards away. Then, as Sakura walks up to the boys, Kakashi sees something he didn't expect so early in this mission. Sasuke uses his arms and pulls the other two into a whispered huddle. Well, it looks like they're going to work together right from the beginning. I guess that means they pass, but now I want to test their Sharingan. All the council wanted to talk about was how quickly I could train 3 Sharingan uses. It's almost as if they forgot they were also talking about Naruto. Those old politicians could only think about the prospects of having the Sharingan reborn in the village. Of course, it used to be said about our village that a ninja was a fool to face a team of Sharingan users. Watching his team, Kakashi wonders on what they are planning when he sees Naruto step back and shake his head, only to have Sasuke and Sakura press him on. Next, he watches Naruto's back as he goes through hidden hand signs, only to lose sight of them when a large billow of smoke fills the area. When the smoke clears, Kakashi can see that Naruto had made 30 clones. And not only clones, but they had also transformed into exact copies of his team, making 10 teams of teens. Then they scatter into the forest in all different directions. Very clever. With so many clones, it will be hard to find the real ones, and any clones I dispel will tell the others where I am. Kakashi has to duck when shuriken come flying at his head, then he has to fight his whole way running down the tree as teens come from a couple different angles. Twisting in the air, Kakashi lifts one leg up to his shoulder while catching Sakura and Naruto by the throats and completes his motion by bringing the leg down into an axe kick, slamming Sasuke to the ground. His foot goes right through the clone Sasuke, and the 2 clones he had in his hands exploded when they were sent to the ground like he was punching it. When Kakashi lands, it looks like he lands on top of a smoke bomb. Now all the clones knew where he was, and Kakashi took off running through the forest. In moments, the area turns into a maelstrom of flying kunai and teens. Kakashi runs, and when he can't run, he jumps, and when he can't follow the path of his jump, he flips out of the way. The Jonin has to rely on every muscle memory war-trained evasive maneuver he had ever been taught to stay alive. He was facing against many Sharingan, which meant their aim was dead on. He normally could rely on the green throwing ability of Genin to expect a few to miss, but the accuracy of the blades gave him very narrow space to dodge, and his uniform already had many slices cut into it. So Kakashi had his answer already. The kids were naturals at using the dojutsu. Bursting out of the forest, Kakashi comes to a sliding halt in the clearing. He had beaten Sasuke with the headhunter jutsu during the first bell test. And following him like a pack of predatory wild animals out of the forest burst the horde of clones after the Jonin. Looking up, Kakashi can see that before the clones jumped out of the forest they must have thrown handfuls of kunai through the tree foliage to rain down on him like a hail of arrows. This is where Kakashi taught Naruto his first wind-style jutsu when he calls out, "Wind-style, Great Wind Shockwave," and sends a blast of air like it swelled out of his chest to deflect all the falling weapons. Many of the kunai get sent flying back at the charging clones, popping them into smoke to leave only 6 teens rushing forward. Kakashi moves forward and dodges to the right, getting out of the way of Naruto's punch, then brings his raised elbow down on the back of Naruto's head, turning the clone to smoke. By the time the smoke was almost gone, Sakura was next and sent a roundhouse kick to Kakashi's back. The Jonin jump flips backwards over Sakura's kick and uses her head as a pommel horse to continue his motion back to the ground, only to make the clone disappear in a shriek as Kakashi pulls hard enough on the handful of hair in his fist to tear it out. The cloud of smoke that was left behind started shining bright yellow, and Kakashi started going through rapid hand signs. As he activated his earth trapdoor jutsu and sank into the ground, he knew he was right. Sasuke had used the smoke as a diversion to send a grand fireball at him. Kakashi bursts out of the ground fist first with an uppercut aimed under Sasuke's clone's jaw and bursts through, making more smoke. Then walking forward through the smoke, Kakashi knew how cool he must have looked. The wisps of smoke clinging to him rose off his body as he walks to face the 3 teens left. "Well, that's all the clones. I can smell the sweat off these 3, oh here they come." Kakashi smirks as the teens all rush forward to attack while he prepares his next technique. All 3 fall into his trap when they send punches into his head, torso and abdomen. They are confused when they make contact, because instead of a solid object they hit the stickiest goop they have ever touched. It was like Kakashi suddenly turned into tar, and each of their fists gets swallowed by the goo, and get stuck there. When they try to pry themselves free, their other hands sink and get stuck too. Grunting in frustration, Naruto pulls as hard as he can and ends up with the heavy tar-like substance stretching and sticking to more of everyone's bodies. In the struggle to get free, more and more of their bodies get covered by the goo, and they slip and fall as it seems to start growing over their bodies. Then panic screamed in their heads like a siren when the ground turned into the same tar and they began sinking like they had fallen in oil. And that was it. Just like that, the test ended. Kakashi had caught them in one of his genjutsu. And he stood there watching the 3 as they were lying on the ground with their arms and legs in the air pushing against nothing, trapped. And that's when he heard them. The bells had chimed from behind Kakashi's back and he turned around to see nothing. Oh no, not again. Then the sound of laughter met Kakashi's ears and he turns to see Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura stand up as if they had broken his genjutsu, and he turns again, making his head a little dizzy at the speed when he hears more laughter from behind him. Wait, that sounded like Sasuke and Sakura. But does that mean? And to answer Kakashi's unheard question, Sasuke and Sakura rematerialize with a shimmer as the invisibility jutsu evaporates off the skin. And together they hold out their hands and open them to dangle the bells with another jingle as they hung between fingers. Kakashi turns his head again to watch the Sasuke and Sakura he was fighting earlier turn into 2 of Naruto's clones and then into smoke. And in that moment it became obvious what had happened, but Sakura explained it anyway. "We got ya good, huh sensei? It was Sasuke's idea. He convinced Naruto to let us copy his invisibility jutsu while his back was turned so you couldn't see. We were counting on the fact you thought we didn't know it and could sneak up from behind you to take the bells. But Naruto had a good point too. Since he took the bells from you before using this trick, we needed to be able to sneak up on you without realizing it. And because we know your nose is as strong as your mutts, and that you would be paying attention to any sign you were being snuck up upon, is where Naruto's clones came in. We needed to confuse you into thinking that you had narrowed down the real us out of the clones. So while you attacked our clones, we were hiding next to them to allow our scent to be picked up. And during the fighting, all we had to do was take the bells without a sound. In fact, it was almost too easy. Kakashi had a sweat drop down the side of his face and his eyes were looking depressed, but fire and a little humor returned to his eyes when he said to Sakura, "I wouldn't be going around poking at someone's pride like that, Sakura, especially when that someone is in charge of what grueling training they can have in store for you." This got a small gulp from Sakura, but a unified front of 3 genin accepting the challenge stepped forward to listen. Now that this team is called Team Sharingan and each of you very obviously has a Sharingan, the village council has become your greatest admirers. And not only that, but the villagers have been gossiping up a storm that you're becoming fast celebrities. This got a confused look from Sakura, but Sasuke wasn't surprised since he was used to the village treating him special because of his heritage. And Naruto had a look of confusion on his face that looked like he thought Kakashi had just spoken Russian with a French accent. The council, admirers, celebrities, are humans really this gullible? After that day had passed, Kakashi had begun their training, and not with dog walking, babysitting, or weed pulling. No, Kakashi began leading his team day by day to the natural and unnatural training grounds around the village. He ran them through death mazes, hunted down murderous tigers, and even walked up the side of a mountain using nothing but the chakra at their feet while carrying a boulder. The worst was when he took them to an Anbu training depot. The reason why the Anbu call it the depot is because of the training rooms spread out in an industrial-style building with multiple training contraptions in each room. The room Kakashi took them to had 3 flak jackets and metal masks on hooks which they each had to put on. Then when Kakashi went around activating the machines in the room, Sakura had started to scream that, being surrounded by crossbows that shoot kunai was insane. All Kakashi had to do was say that this room was built by the Uchiha members of the Anbu to train the Sharingan. And Sasuke told them all to shut up and do it after Kakashi mentioned the last person to completely master this course was Uchiha Itachi. It was the most grueling training any one of them were put through in 1 week, which Sakura had dubbed Hell Week, when they were ready to disperse before their 1 day off. But Kakashi assured her that they hadn't gone through his hardest training yet. As I'm sure Naruto has told you before, I used to be a captain of the Anbu, so I know training methods most genin wouldn't be exposed to. Is what he told them. But Kakashi found that his threat was short-lived when the council had all but forced the Hokage to send Team Sharingan on a mission. They had been getting reports that Nuke Nin were using genjutsu traps to trick travelers. Some were robbed blind, others killed or taken to be sold into slavery. And so Team Sharingan was sent, and to their amazement some of the villagers had gathered on either side of the gate to cheer him out. Some even looked at Naruto, pointing and whispering to each other. But when he flashed his Sharingan to try and scare them, they would look away in fear, and go right back to cheering for them. Kakashi could tell while they traveled, that this treatment disturbed Naruto. It disturbed him so much that it was probably reason why he was so harsh to the Nuke Nin when Team Sharingan found them. The bandits were waiting for a caravan to come through the woods, each of them with an overconfident smile as they cast their genjutsu. But Kakashi was leading this caravan, and when he felt the genjutsu hit like an exploded feather pillow, he sent the signal. And 3 invisible genin took out the 3 Nuke Nin. Sasuke preferred to use his fists, but Sakura and Naruto used genjutsu. Sakura made her target get pummeled by the giant inner Sakura, and Naruto made his target think his skin was melting off. Naruto made the pain so real that his Nuke Nin had started to claw at his own face. And after they finished their mission and returned to the Leaf Village, word had spread throughout Fire Nation starting from the village they stayed in and freed from the threat of Rogue Nin. The nation was buzzing similar to the night several years back when the secret got out that the most powerful ninja clan of the village hidden in the leaves had been massacred. But now the word spread through Fire Country from excited people to anyone willing to listen. And like a spiral pattern, the gossip says the Uchiha are back. The Sharingan is back. When Kakashi had reported to the Hokage for his mission debriefing, he was surprised to find that he had to leave on an immediate mission to the Fire Capital. The Fire Lord Daimyo had heard the rumors, and he wanted to meet Team Sharingan. It took them a day's walk to make it to the Fire Capital, and when they arrived, Naruto and Sasuke had gotten into a verbal fight while walking through the capital. In preparation for their arrival, the Fire Lord had put up throughout the city huge banners with the Uchiha emblem hung everywhere like a neo-fascist rally. Naruto had started by saying, "Sasuke, if you look at me with that self-satisfied smirk on your face one more time, then I'll give you a new face." Kakashi had to get between them a couple of times, but they stopped their bickering when he grabs them by the skin of their necks just before seeing the Daimyo. The older man seemed too stiff. His face looked like he was always smelling something bad, but his eyes had a strange amusement in them when he took in the image of Team Sharingan. Well, this is definitely a most interesting experience. Yes, quite marvelous to be in the presence of the highly revered Sharingan. But I must admit, I am disappointed. Kakashi had been keeping his attention on Naruto and Sasuke to make sure they weren't about to start something. He was surprised to hear the Daimyo suddenly say he was disappointed. When the Hokage told him of this trip, he was expecting some sort of medals or gifts given to the kids. Politics definitely weren't Kakashi's strong suit, and if the leader of Fire Country and one of the main monetary suppliers of the Leaf Village wasn't happy, then Kakashi would have to try to appease him. And I don't want to get the Leaf into a promise that's going to get me in trouble. The Daimyo did something that made his advisors orbiting him very nervous. He walked right up to each of the teens and gave them an appraising look, and spending the most time looking at Naruto TSSing as he walks away. The man then whispers some orders to his aide and then informs Team Sharingan that they were all late to dinner and started walking away. The ninja followed the Daimyo after passing through a few halls and sliding open doors as they went until they came to a long red rectangle of a room with a large table covered with decadent food. The fire emblem was emblazed in the marble walls and they all sat on fine pads made of silk. As they ate, Kakashi almost choked watching Naruto eat like a ravenous animal. He was gnawing on a fish head, even plucked out and slurped up one of the massive eyes of the big fish. In the end, the Fire Lord said he found the events of dinner very entertaining. After dinner they made their way back to the main throne room where a cameraman had set up for a photo. Now, the Fire Lord had said, if you're going to be the revived power of the Fire Nation's strongest clan, and to be honest also very powerful information to use in political calculations, then you're going to have to be impressive. Nations have already sent me envoys of dignitaries who say they are here just to further relations, but all of them end up asking about rumors of the Sharingan team. Now with you all here, I don't have to tell anyone I've never met such people, I will just show them your photo of us together. And, to be blunt, your clothing is lacking in the impressive. Clapping his hands at his servants, they rush forward and surround the teens with changing dividers and show each of them the presents the Daimyo had pulled from the deep treasure chambers in his palace. My family have kept these for years, back when one of my ancestors had 3 Uchiha in his Guardian 12. And after looking at you 3 I knew they were perfect, we even had time to re-lacquer them in appropriate colors. So for now I ask you to wear these to complete the impressive package that comes with your new status and stand by me for the photo. And of course take them as my gifts to you. Without hearing complaint the servants striped the teens of their clothes, and then they were wrapped in what felt like the sturdiest material that was closest to silk they each had felt. Next the armor was heard being snapped into place, leather tightening, and metal clanking. And when the dressing dividers were taken back, both the Daimyo and Kakashi had taken a long moment to take in the sight of the teens. Sasuke was wearing a much darker navy top that had the Uchiha-style white collar, and on his chest and shoulders were old-style armor that was navy blue 2 shades lighter than his clothes. Down to his legs ran the rest of his shirt that opened at his waist like a rain jacket to show off the matching knee and shin guards attached. Sakura had a reddish pink and white kimono that had sakura petals in white flowing through the fabric, but was wrapped in pink armor similar to Sasuke's but instead with only guards around waist. Down the sides of her legs and her shoulder guard plates were more curved than flat. She was given a skirt that was similar to hers and pink shin guards. Naruto had been given a red-orange top with a wide collar that was turned down and had 3 dark marks running to the tips. And he wore bright red armor with the shoulder pads that rose up to guard his neck. He too had shin guards and brand new black shoes that actually fit him. And together they looked like paintings and statues left around Fire Country of ninja from the founding years. Think like the armor worn by Madara and the first Hokage. After the picture was taken the teens marched out of the city enjoying the awe inspired by their visage as people got out of the way, and bowed. For the first time in a long time, Kurama Naruto felt like he was respected, even feared. He felt good, so he just strutted out of the city with the rest of his team. And they had to agree as they discussed the Daimyo's last words of advice to Team Sharingan. Just call yourselves Team S, he said, Something simple but at the same time requires knowledge to understand its meaning, which creates a mystique. Or as you kids call it, pretty cool. So with the capital at their backs, Team S walked home. Only to find that by the time they reached the Leaf Village that mission requests had come in by the dozens to hire Team S. Now Kakashi felt like he needed to get a drink to help him deal with all the strange events that have happened up to now as he reads the scrolls describing the requests for his team. One was to supervise a gold and goods trade between countries to make sure all parties were being truthful and not pulling any tricks. Another was a request for them to assassinate a Yakuza syndicate that took over a township in the Land of Rivers. Another was an actual arranged marriage offer for each of the teens. And by the third week after they completed most of the mission requests, minus the arranged marriages, Team S was walking back through the main gates once more. Kakashi was organizing all his thoughts on everything that had happened in the last 3 weeks. And replaying everything in his head, he came to one very depressing conclusion on all the extra training, missions, and admiration from civilian women. I'm not getting enough reading time at all anymore. Sakura turned to look at Kakashi. Did you say something, sensei? Putting on his upside-down eye smile, Kakashi waves her concern off. Oh, don't worry, I'll just be happy when requests stop coming in so frequently for us to leave the village. Now you're all dismissed. I'm going to the Hokage's office to give our debriefing and the head of the Yakuza boss. And also, if all these special requests come into the village just for us, then I'm going to convince the cage that the rate of pay for Team SB should raised. Maybe then we will get a break. Sasuke huffs over his shoulder walking away. Sakura watches him go with a look on her face like she was making a hard decision. Then she too walked away, not following or calling out to Sasuke. Kakashi was about to shun away when he looked down at Naruto, who was still standing there looking at him. What is it, Naruto? I'm tired, and I don't want to show you any new jutsu today. Naruto frowns at him and says, I don't want anything from you, I want to speak to the Hokage. And if you're going to see him, then I want to come too, and if you're going to use Shunshin, then go right ahead. Kakashi frowns and looks down at Naruto. Sorry Naruto, you should make an appointment to see a village's cage, even if you're a famous ninja now. And Shunshin doesn't work that way, you can't just copy the jutsu with your Sharingan and teleport any time you want to. Because I was an Anbu and my chakra is attuned to the Shunshin network, I can move at will. So for now Naruto, yar ne. And with that last word, Kakashi makes a hand sign, disappearing with a swirl of wind and leaves. The Shunshin technique allowed him to teleport from one spot in the village to another in a few seconds. But in those few seconds, as his body and chakra were drawn in and folded through space-time, was disorienting, it even hurt a little. It was like being forced into a bendy straw while flying through the air, unable to see where you were going. And at the end of the trip he was standing in the circular room in the Hokage Tower that was used to rematerialize ninja. It was a short walk to the Hokage's office, and the receptionist told Kakashi he was expected. Walking into the office, the Hokage was going through one of what he liked to call accelerated paperwork sessions. The cage would pick up a piece of paper to speed read while signing another, and then after signing he would in a flash pick up the signed paper, putting it in the done pile, and put the paper he was reading down to be signed while he read another. Kakashi, watching the cage work like a man on a lethal deadline, reminded him why he never wanted to become Hokage. When Sarutobi finished his pile of paperwork, he called his aide into the office to take them away. And Kakashi stood there patiently while Sarutobi packed his pipe. So Kakashi, I'm assuming as usual that your mission was a success. Yes Hokage-sama, I have the boss's head on a storage scroll. There were no complications, and most of the gangsters' henchmen were mowed down by Naruto and that huge sword of his. So in the end the village was beyond grateful, they even threw a feast for us. The Hokage was puffing on his pipe while he seemed deep in thought, and Kakashi knew the man long enough that they had to talk about a problem. Something happened in the village before you left for your last mission, though we didn't find out about it until after you left. The Hokage puts his pipe down in his ashtray and rolls out a scroll on the new empty spot on his desk. The scroll had a map of the Leaf Village and several photos were put down on top of it. Kakashi walks up and bends over to look at the map with his hands in his pockets, and then the strangest sight the Hokage had ever seen happened next. Right when Kakashi had bent down, a strange sound exploded from his rear end with a little bit of smoke too. And as if Kakashi was a cannon, Naruto was seen flying out of nowhere to go crashing headfirst into a wall. Both Sarutobi and Kakashi were staring at the dazed Naruto as he tried to stand, and then they looked at each other for answers. But both of them had similar looks of surprised confusion, and the Hokage's face was even more perplexed. In the few nanoseconds after hearing the sound and seeing Naruto appear, the image had looked like Kakashi just had the strangest flatulence known to existence. You know Kakashi, I always told you that your love for ramen made you gassy. Naruto. How? How did you do this? You weren't invisible. I developed a technique that will tell me when you're sneaking up on me. So what did you just do? How did you get in here? Sarutobi had a thought, and if he was right then it explained the problem he was going to talk to Kakashi about. Kakashi, why don't you check your backside to see if Naruto planted anything on you? Doing as he was told after sending the Kage a confused look, he twists and turns so they both can see the tiny piece of rectangular paper with a kanji written on it neither of them had seen in over 12 years. Peeling it off to look closer, Kakashi's eye bulges and shakes when he confirms with a nod what is in his palm. The Hokage had stood up to walk over to Naruto who was shaking the cobwebs out of his head, then grabs him by his new shirt and threw him into one of the visitors' chairs while both older ninjas stand over the blonde ominously. Naruto, did you know that one of my pet peeves is people who come into my office unannounced or without permission? And the next is dealing with all the reports of breaking and entering in this village. And in Village of Ninja, the immature ones especially, break-ins do happen. But when they happen to a guarded and sealed clan compound, it gets to me even more. Kakashi looks down at Naruto, and like a switch going off in his brain he understood what the Hokage wanted to talk to him about earlier. Naruto. Did you break into the Uzumaki clan house? Naruto takes turns looking back and forth at the two ninja with his crimson eyes, so what if I did? Naruto. Like I said it is a crime too. But the Kage didn't have a chance to finish his sentence. Naruto, like a switch just went off in his brain, was enraged in a moment. To hell with that, how could I break into my own family house, huh? Oh, have you forgotten my last name? And not only that, the seal on the doors and windows were blood seals, so only I could open them anyway. So kiss my ass twice, the both of you. The Kage eyes had narrowed dangerously when he was listening to Naruto. He was the third Hokage, also known as the Professor, a man cloaked in immense power was not used to being yelled at. He had such a speaking presence that when he needed, he could make someone bow to his will with a few well-spoken words. But Naruto had a point. The house did belong to his mother and father, and by blood his. The fourth Hokage had built his home with many defenses to keep people away, and the house was sealed by blood seals that only family could open. But there was a good reason why he didn't give Naruto control of the home. Inside was the fourth Hokage's study. A place Sarutobi only saw twice that contained the theories and jutsu scrolls of not only the fourth, but the Uzumaki clan too. Naruto, I am surprised by you yet again. The Hokage walks back around his desk and sits down while picking up his pipe. Not only did you find out where your parents' home was, but were able to get inside. Something I couldn't do. And more, it would seem as though you are now playing around with the fourth Hokage's jutsu. So what? I used it to get in here so I could tell you that I have taken what's mine. I found out that you guys have been keeping information from me, like who my family is and me having a home other than that crappy apartment you have me squatting in. Naruto stood up and leaned over the Kage's big desk slamming his palms into it. Look, I know why you guys are so afraid of me and my potential. It's not like it's much of a secret even to my team, so when do I get to live my life the way I was meant to? I have done so much for this village already, and guess what? I haven't tried burning it down yet. Naruto. The Kage stepped up to the blonde's challenge and slammed a palm on the desk to lean forward looking into Naruto's eyes while pointing his pipe at his face. Truth be told, I would like nothing more than to share with you your heritage and tell you the stories of your parents. But your own actions over the years have prevented that. Yes, we are aware and respect the terrible power that is sealed away inside you. But because that power has been known to be difficult to control and has been known to make those who carry it turn to evil, we must be cautious. Naruto, you have shown me many examples over the years to give me cause to believe that you are being influenced by the nine-tailed fox. Hell, despite the fact that the Fire Lord and the whole country is excited by your recent actions that has brought about this Team Sharingan, to me it smells of evil. And that Naruto is what I am afraid to conclude of you, that you're evil. Naruto keeps looking into the old man's eyes, and smirks. What are you so afraid of? As I learned in the academy, evil is a point of view. You say I'm evil, but you ask me to do evil for you. This village just paid me 4,000 yen to help kill a bunch of guys. You then sent me to go steal a nation's secret scroll while in transport. And you have even asked my team to accompany another genjutsu squad to rewire some poor princess's mind so she would think she was in love with the man she had been arranged to marry so she wouldn't run away anymore. So you tell me, what's more evil? I am just vicious enough to let people know with a few cuts and maybe a broken nose not to mess with me. And so what if I did a few pranks that equaled in disgust what they have done to me? I never killed any of your precious prejudiced people, and I never did any permanent damage. And as far as my recent actions, well, it's just me finally living up to my potential, and my ambition is strong enough to overcome any obstacle. So sorry that scares you, but if I'm going to become a powerful ninja, then I want people to respect that power. And in the end, my ambition has gained your village and your country even more power and recognition. So again, if I am evil, then so are you. The Cage had kept his steely reserve while listening to Naruto, but his eyes got a very small, faraway and sorrowful look after he heard Naruto say a word he had heard years before. Ambition. Sarutobi leans back and settles into his big chair, then he points with his pipe at the chair behind Naruto. The blonde, after snorting and crossing his arms, falls back heavy into the chair and waits for another one of the Hokage's sagely stories of peace, justice, and all that crap. Naruto, I wonder after listening to you if you have heard a story about a ninja named Orochimaru. The Cage waited for Naruto to shake his head no before continuing after a drag from his pipe. Orochimaru was my student, and one of my greatest accomplishments as a teacher. He was one of the legendary Sannin, and during the last great ninja war he was invaluable as a ninja. But his mind and soul got twisted during that war, and his ambition, as he called it, had turned him down a dark path. He had secretly tried to continue creating unique jutsu, forbidden jutsu. And again, his ambition had grown so strong that he was willing to use people, make them suffer, and ultimately throw them away when they died, all for his experimentation. Ambition, a hidden one that I would have never expected from him. I knew Orochimaru his whole life, much as I have known you. He grew up without his parents and dazzled us all with what he could do. But in the end he turned against us and perpetrated what I would call evil on us, Naruto. And now, after learning the lesson of Orochimaru, I must take care at how aware I must be of the ninja growing up here. And up to now, you have continually reminded me of him, and am running out of ideas on how to prevent it. Naruto listened intently, scheming. This has been the way it always has been between them. Naruto knew that the Hokage had kept a close eye on him because of his demon power, but after hearing this story he now understood why the Hokage was willing to give him so many second chances. He didn't want to lose another orphan to the dark side, he didn't want to lose me. Now that I know how emotional he gets about this subject, I can use it against him to get what I need. Naruto sits up to look the Hokage square in the face. I'm not planning on leaving the village, old man, and as for my ambitions, well, I'm not hiding any of my goals. You all know that my goal is to become stronger, no, the strongest. I'm not saying that I want to become Hokage, but I want to become respected. Me, Naruto, a ninja legend. And then everyone in this village won't treat me like some wild dog, they will look up on me and know that I am one to be reckoned with. And since the path has been laid out before me by the family no one had the decency to tell me about, my fame and foundations of power reside here, I will become the greatest leaf ninja you have seen. And I'm not going to let you or anyone's fear of me get in the way of that. And after seeing the looks of awe that both the Hokage and Kakashi have on their faces, Naruto stands up from the chair and turns his back on him, making his way to the door, thinking, I would like to thank the Academy for this wonderful award, and you too, Mr. Eisner, ha 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 ha. Then stopping and looking over his shoulder at him, Naruto says before they can interrupt, I came here to tell you that I have already moved into my new house, and I'm not taking any arguments on the subject. See you tomorrow, Cyclops, maybe you can teach me how to shunshin better next time. And then Naruto just leaves behind two stunned elite ninja as the door closes behind him. Looking at each other, Kakashi breaks the awkward silence. Oh. Okay. That was interesting. Sarutobi laughs at this and sticks his pipe in the corner of his mouth, he certainly is full of surprises. And now on top of having new Sharingan, he now is learning how to use the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. If Naruto learns more jutsu not only from Minato's scrolls but Kushina may have Uzumaki Jutsu written down too. These would probably have been things they purposely left behind for Naruto, so how can I restrict his use of them? And even more concerning is the kinds of power he could awaken with all the elements coming together inside of him. Power of the fourth Hokage's Jutsu, Uzumaki Chakra Endurance, Uchiha Secret Jutsu, and the Chakra of the Nine Tails to fuel that potential. Standing up and putting on his cage hat, Sarutobi adopts his proud Hokage stance and continues to talk as Kakashi follows him out of the office and into the halls. We are now late to the meeting we originally were going to. But you and I both know, Kakashi, after everything we have seen and heard today, that Naruto most likely will try and surpass all expectations of him. We must keep our eyes on him and make sure he stays a leaf ninja and not a future menace. I think tomorrow's mission will stay in the village, give you a chance to calm him down before we start the next set of games. Games. Kakashi had given the Hokage a questioning look, but the old man was just smiling as he gestured for him to go into the meeting room first. And inside that room were all the other Jonin who either were teaching a squad or not. And when the Hokage took his seat in the front of the group, he informed them all of the upcoming Chunin exam they had to prepare for. The next morning on the little bridge over the fast-moving stream where Team S usually met to begin their missions was Sakura, fuming mad. She was pacing over the little bridge over and over, stomping her feet after a while. Then she can see Sasuke turn down the street he usually takes, and all of a sudden Naruto lands on all fours heavily on the handrail of the bridge next to her, making her squeak in surprise. Where the hell were you two? I've been waiting for over an hour here by myself. Sasuke frowns at her, but his eyes are showing a small bit of surprise. When did she start talking to Emi like this? At least it's better than all the fangirl crap she used to pull. Naruto just yells right back, "Hey, Kakashi told us to be here 3 hours ago, so if you've only been waiting for an hour then that means you were late too, so don't be a hypocrite, Pinky. Instead be smarter next time and don't show up when he says." Sakura yells back at him, and Naruto yells back at her. It's a usual occurrence for Sasuke to watch them yell insults at each other. Like always, they find ways to piss me off right from the start. The fighting stops a few minutes later when Kakashi arrives with a small puff of smoke and a swirl of leaves saying, "Yo." Sakura can't help herself from saying at the top of her lungs, "You're late." "Oh, sorry about that. I had to go and help prepare the village for the upcoming CH. Oh, whatever, it's probably just another lie like always." This actually got Naruto laughing and pointing at him. "Well then, I guess I'll wait a couple days to tell them I'm considering entering them into the exams." "Alright everyone, listen up. We already have our mission assigned to us and we're late, so follow me." On their way to the main gate, which was the one that led to the only civilian road into and out of Konoha, Kakashi outlined what task the village had assigned him today. "What do you mean guard the gate?" Naruto had thought Kakashi was trying to play a joke on them. After all, the missions they had been doing lately were pretty high-end. They now had 3 C rank, 5 B rank, and 2 A rank missions added to their files. So it wasn't until they walked up to the gate and each of them was given a clipboard and instructions for what to look for when granting entrance to the village. Naruto was about to start arguing with Kakashi, but all 3 members of Team S had to look around until they found their lazy teacher in a tree with his book already out and a happy expression on his face. And so they took the mission as a training exercise when Sakura chimed in that they could use this a chance to work out the Sharingan. And for the next 4 hours they stood just inside the gate, stopping people coming in and asking to see their visitor's pass, checking their ID, and making sure no one had a henge transforming them into an unsuspicious-looking traveler. But like Naruto had predicted, this was boring. Checking off times people came and went, writing passes to delivery wagons, giving directions to tourists and visiting family members. Boring. And there wasn't really much to challenge their Sharingan. Sure, the one time a merchant tried to sneak in some bootleg sake they could see through his disguised cart. But all 3 deactivated the dojutsu after the 30th person asked if they were Team Sharingan and, "Can I have a picture?" Naruto was finishing with his last couple of merchants and looked around at the traffic. Less people had come in the last 5 minutes, so both Sasuke and Sakura had gone off to get their water bottles from behind the check-in desk. Naruto was standing there in the middle of the giant wide-open doors like the lone guardian that he was at the moment, arms crossed and stern frown looking forward. Then in an instant he felt it. Like a tiny bolt of electricity running between his eyes and through his brain. A sharp ping, no more painful than a static shock but stunning enough to catch his attention. It had a feeling to it, like a flavor. It was very distinct. And he noticed as he was trying to think about the feeling that it was steadily getting stronger. Like a pressure that wasn't really there, Naruto concentrated on this strange new sense he was getting that was at the same time familiar. But before he can start guessing what it was that was happening, he saw more people coming into view from far away. There were 3 of them, and as he watched them he noticed that the pressure intensified as these 3 people approached him. Activating his Sharingan, Naruto can suddenly see in much better focus, and much like hawk that focuses its eyes, the 3 ninja walking seemed to get closer to him like they were only a few feet away. There were 2 males and a female. On the right was blonde female with her hair tied back into 4 ponytails sticking out in a couple different directions. She had a large rectangle of steel attached to her back and cocky look on her face. Looking over at the larger male on the left, he had the same look in his eye as the girl, a cocky smile stretched across a kabuki painted face. He wore one solid cat suit and had something wrapped up on his back that Naruto couldn't see. Then there was the small one in the middle. While he stares intently at the redhead, he notices several things. Focusing his Sharingan, he feels that this boy was the source of what he was feeling. And that he, like his companions, he had a large something attached to his back, and on the belt that held the large gourd-looking thing had a headband from the sand village wrapped around it. The last thing he noticed when the eyebrowless boy opened his eyes and looked up as if to stare right back into Naruto's from afar, was that the rage and intent in the teal-colored eyes reminded him of his own. Naruto kept staring at them while they walked the whole way until they stopped right in front of him. "What's your business here?" Naruto looked at all 3 of them, appraising them from top to bottom, but stopped on the blonde girl who walked forward to give him their passes. "Here you go, so they got ya working gate duty today. Not too glamorous, huh, big shot." She had let go of the passes when she said her last word, but instead of catching this tiny leafnin off guard, she felt a nervous reaction looking into his eyes as he was sending her a death glare. She steps back after he keeps his gaze on her longer than 30 seconds. His glare reminded her of one her brother gave before violence would ensue. Naruto looks back down at the passes, reading the information. He says, "So, it's Temari, is it? And Kankuro, and then you must be Gaara." The small pale boy with red hair was staring off in the distance like he was trying to remember something, and at hearing his name he brought his steely gaze up to lock 2 pairs of demon eyes together. "Yes, I am Gaara." And they just stare. Neither of Gaara's siblings knew what to do as the blonde boy was making the biggest mistake you could ever make with Gaara. Stare into his eyes, and you were dead. But they stayed locked like that for what seemed like a painful eternity to the other 2 watching the staring contest. Then Naruto asks, "I guess I'll ask you then. What is your business here?" Gaara's eyes got even more menacing looking. "It says so on our forms, we are here to take the exams." Naruto actually took a step forward and made his Sharingan flash as his comma marks opened again. "What exam is that? Wow man, you must be the village idiot or something." Kankuro couldn't hold in the stress anymore from the tense situation and he had to speak. He was thinking he could get this idiot's attention off Gaara long enough for his brother to remember that they were supposed to keep a low profile. But what he gets is Naruto's glare that he was sending into Gaara's, which had started as a challenging hostility, then intensified into a death glare when his eyes turned on Kankuro. Kankuro stares back and he feels a sudden rush go over him. He was stuck still and couldn't even blink, then the world around him turned black. Everything went pitch black except for the ground, himself and the blonde boy with the red eyes. Naruto then began to grow. To Kankuro it was like the blonde was getting further away but bigger at the same time. And as Kankuro feels his body return to him, he takes a few frightened steps away looking up at the giant Naruto looking down on him. It reminded Kankuro of one of his favorite cartoons, Bambi vs. Godzilla. And just like in the cartoon, Naruto raises his foot up and starts bringing it down on top of Kankuro, who puts his arms up and trips back to sit on something hard. The face-painted ninja from the sand village was totally helpless inside the genjutsu as gripping fear holds him trapped. Until he hears, "Kankuro, get off my foot before I kill you." And the familiar words and voice were enough to shock Kankuro's system out of the light genjutsu Naruto used on him. When the blackness fades, his face tightens in horror as he quickly gets off Gaara's foot and brushes off his backside, apologizing to his younger brother. Gaara barely gives Kankuro a sideways glare as he steps up to Naruto again. I'm sorry for our idiot teammate. If our papers are in order, may we enter? Naruto turns his unimpressed look back to Gaara, then down to the papers, and then back up again. Yeah, they're all signed correctly. Come on in. And without warning, Naruto tosses the papers back to Temari, who barely has time to catch them in her shock. The tense stare down passes when Gaara breaks eye contact, moving close around Naruto and on into the streets of the village as his brother and sister walk behind once in a while, looking back at the clearly insane blonde. And just before they leave Naruto's sight, he says under his breath, Shukaku. Hey Naruto. Looking over at Sasuke, he could see a question in his eyes. What was that all about? Who was that? Naruto looks at him for a couple of seconds, then smirks and yells, it was your mother. And that was what started the second bloodiest fight between Naruto and Sasuke. To everyone present at the gate, they saw two ninja that seemed hell-bent on killing each other. Even Kakashi kept his distance, waiting for an opening to grab them. He ended up having to bring out his Sharingan. And he was just in time to pull them apart from cutting each other any worse than they just had with the bloody kunai. To stop their struggling, he had punched them both hard in the solar plexus. Later they were walking down the street away from the main gate, and Kakashi was explaining why Sasuke and Naruto won't be getting their mission pay. Do you both understand? As ninja of this village, when you are asked to do a public service like the one we were assigned to, you do it with honor and reserve. If you're in public and you can't keep yourselves from acting like children, then that sends the wrong message to people visiting our village. Even worse, like today we have visiting ninja from other villages who see that and spread word that our ninja are undisciplined and violent. Naruto snorts at him, I am undisciplined and violent, so whatever. Sasuke should know better than to yell at me and try to give me commands. Oh yeah, and you should know not to insult someone's mother. Sasuke was still angry, and the only thing that kept him from lunging at Naruto was Kakashi, who was walking between them. Yeah Naruto, that is pretty low. But I got to say Sasuke, your new healing ability seems to be as fast as Naruto's. Both of your cuts and bruises are healing up fast. So no reason to go to the hospital for you two, and I want no more fighting out of either of you. You both fight too much. Instead, next time one of you could just say to each other that you want to train your Sharingan and get your aggression out that way. After all, you both can't hide from me that gleam in your eyes, challenging each other on. Sakura looked back and forth, shaking her head in disapproval of her teammates. Whatever, they're both dumb. It's good to know we can heal fast now because of our shared chakra, but it's still stupid for you two to fight so extreme. If you want to work out the Sharingan so much, then Sasuke, let's go back to the depot together and train. Sasuke had turned away from them after hearing about the shared chakra. He didn't like thinking about having borrowed power from Naruto. Another time. And Sasuke walks away. Kakashi, seeing the opportunity to leave, said his goodbye after yelling at them all to meet tomorrow at the same place and time, then disappears in a puff. Sakura turned her head after Kakashi left to look at Sasuke's back. I make a conscious decision to be his teammate and not try to make him fall in love with me anymore, and he still won't spend time with me. I actually would love it if Sasuke would want to teach me his way of using the Sharingan. Then I would know he doesn't hate me like I think he still hates Naruto for using that jutsu on us. Could he really hate me just because I got these eyes by accident? I still want to be by your side, Sasuke, and now I feel a connection even stronger than before to you. I could be the one to help you rebuild the Uchiha clan. I want that. I still want you. But I guess I haven't proven my strength to him yet, that I'm not just some girl with a crush and that I have ambition too. That's what being on this team has taught me. I can't just expect to become strong, and I can't wait for someone to come and save me. I will prove myself to you, Sasuke. And someday you are going to see just how special I am. Sakura had another thought. Then nodding to herself, she turns to ask, Naruto, how about it? Do you want to go? And but by the time she had turned around where Naruto was standing before, he was gone. Looking up, she could see people looking at her for talking to herself and Naruto walking down the street. Naruto, you jerk. You didn't even say goodbye, you animal. Naruto just ignored her, because like Sasuke he was upset too. Naruto had things to think on, but a recurring thought was pissing him off right now. When he planned on stealing the Sharingan, he wasn't planning on sharing his power too. And seeing Sasuke's cuts and bruises heal like his wounds usually did had burned his pride. Well, I guess we have something in common, Sasuke. You're mad that I stole your eyes and I'm mad that you have stolen some of my chakra. And I don't even know how much of it has been lost too. As a spirit of chakra I can always create more, but with my spirit detached from the source I don't know what that means to my reserves. They could each now have an equal share of my power. I need to hurry up and make a breakthrough with the dreamscape of chakra that Kushina's notes speak of. According to her, that was the start of learning how to control my power, and then, what the hell? While walking around the next corner of wooden fencing, Naruto suddenly has a small boy run full speed into him. To the boy it was like running into a wall, and he bounces back to hit his head on the ground. Looking down, Naruto's already angry expression turned on little Konohamaru and his two friends who were trying to help their leader up. Naruto was about to yell, but then he stops to take in the appearance to the three kids. They each had torn fabric wrapped under their belts that ran down their waists like half a trench coat, just like Naruto was known to wear. And on each of their cheeks were 3 lines drawn mirroring Naruto's whiskers. In the shock of seeing these kids dressing like him, all he can say is, "What the hell is this?" After Mogi and Udon pulled Konohamaru to his feet, he looks up at the familiar demonic-sounding voice to see Naruto's enraged glare and immediately turns away yelling, "Retreat!" Again, Naruto is just too surprised to care about the stupid grandson of the Hokage as he watches him run down to the end of the street with his friends close behind. Naruto just shrugs his shoulders and continues down the same road, since this was his new way to his house, and the back of the master bedroom has a hot springs. Again, these humans have some good ideas. And being close to hot springs is one of them. Then a sound hits his ears from down the street, and looking up he sees Konohamaru had run into another person. What is wrong with that idiot kid? Does he stare at his feet while running? And as he continues walking closer, he sees that the boy has run into is that Kankuro guy he met at the gate earlier. Kankuro had bent down to pick Konohamaru by the collar and scarf, lifting him up to his eye level and begins to insult him. Naruto continues to walk and then stops when Kankuro looks over at him. His eyes widen for a second, then turn angry as he stares at Naruto. Then Konohamaru tries to reason with the Sand Nin. "Hey, come on, that hurts. Hey, you wear face makeup too, huh?" This got a death glare from Kankuro, who yells at Konohamaru while his eye twitches, "This is war paint, you bratty little kid. Makeup is what you wear when you're too ugly to go outside, just like you." Staring into the frightened boy's face, Kankuro notices something familiar, and looking over at the other two kids he sees the same whisker marks on their faces. And looking over at Naruto, who was watching the whole thing leaning on one leg with his hands in his pockets looking bored, had the same marks on his cheeks too. "Ha, so I get it now." He tightens his grip on Konohamaru's neck, eliciting a cry from the boy. "These little punks are your fans, huh? So what do you think about me teaching them a lesson, like looking where they're going?" Naruto just raises an eyebrow at this as the other two kids beg him to help. "I don't care. I'd make him bleed too for running into me." This surprised Kankuro, and Konohamaru was looking like he was going to cry. Then, thinking Naruto was bluffing, the Sand Nin pulls Konohamaru back and throws the boy head first at the fence. Naruto didn't even move a muscle. Out of nowhere, a blur of pink and red catches Konohamaru before he impacts with the fence. Sakura turns to slide in the dirt to a stop, flashing her Sharingan at Kankuro and his sister, who had leaned off the fence she was on to stand near her brother. Sakura bends down to let go of Konohamaru, who calls her a nice lady. Then she stands tall, pointing a finger and keeping her other hand in a fist on her hip. "Hey, you two, I remember both of you from the gate earlier. If I read the paperwork correctly, then you're here to take the Chunin exams and you can get disqualified for something like this. So explain yourself for attacking our citizens." Temari is usually the reasonable one on their team, so she puts her hands up and says, "Hold on there, I'm not a part of this. And the kid ran into my teammate, not the other way around. My brother was just upset the kid didn't apologize, that's all." But while Temari talked, Sakura could see that Kankuro was just as mad as he was to begin with, and he seemed tense enough to want to fight while he stared down Naruto. Hey Sakura. Naruto gets her attention but doesn't turn to make eye contact with her as he asks, what's this Chunin exam? No one's ever told me about it. Kankuro laughs at this as Sakura explains the process of different villages hosting the exams and who and why ninja were competing in it. Kankuro finishes his laugh and says while looking in Naruto's eyes, well, can't expect this crazy guy to know about it, after all he wears makeup like these little brats. And he's almost as tall as them too. Kankuro was laughing when he sees Naruto's Sharingan again and he stops laughing to smile a challenge as one hand went under the binding at his shoulder. Oh good, does this mean you're ready to fight now? I haven't had a chance to thank you for making me look like a fool back there. He then lifts up his hand at Naruto then starts to bend and wiggle his fingers at him. Naruto was thankful his Sharingan was active, because as he watched Kankuro's fingers he could see small shiny strings burst out like spider webs and in an instant attach to his legs. But Naruto didn't move or give the sand nin a reason to suspect he saw the chakra strings. I've heard of this, the sand have been known to use puppets controlling them with chakra strings. If I move he can trip me up and jump me, instead I'll use my arms. Putting his hands together forming a cross he creates a shadow clone with a puff of smoke and it runs forward in a blur of speed. Kankuro gets ready to pull the strings and face the clone when the clone suddenly goes invisible. What the foo? Ugh. Crack is the sound everyone hears when Naruto's invisible clone surprises Kankuro and breaks his nose with a punch sending the sand nin to the ground. Rolling with the hit Kankuro gets to his feet fast and in 2 moves raises his hand to his nose to reset the bone, and pull the wrapped up mummy looking thing off his back to slam it on the ground in front of him. Only to get a pebble to hit him directly between the eyes making him go cross-eyed and hard enough to fall on his butt. Everyone looks up in the tree to see Sasuke sitting on a branch like he was relaxing while throwing stones in the air with one hand. You should really take a good look around, and then you would know why it's foolish to fight us. Kankuro had stood up and grabbed his puppet again to start to yell, but his sister had stepped forward to put her hands on his shoulders. Look at their eyes Kankuro, it's them. Kankuro actually takes a second to look at the dark-haired teen in the eyes, and sees the same pattern that was in the blonde's eyes, and looking over the pink girl does too. Then the briefing he was in back in the sand on the current affairs of the Leaf Village that he had barely paid attention to came back to him. I get now. So you guys are Team Sharingan we have heard so much about. Kankuro stares up at Sasuke who smirked at his words and began to crush the rocks in his hand while staring back. That's right, so if you want to fight just know that I'm next, and Sakura would jump in if she needed to. So, are you still in the mood to fight? Kankuro's mind was racing at this. They were given orders to try and make contact with this team to gather intel, just not in a fight with them. Kankuro's pride was hurting and his anger was showing as his grip tightened on his puppet. Kankuro, didn't I tell you to stop causing trouble already? On the other side of the tree Sasuke was sitting on was a swirl of sand that had the redhead from before in the center staring down at his team who had gone white with fear. I guess you didn't take me seriously since I didn't say I would kill if you did this again. But now I don't need to say it, do I? Gaara's words were enough to make Kankuro quiet as he bowed his apologies. And with another swirl of sand the redhead tells them to follow and all 3 sand nin start to walk away. But before they could get far Sasuke jumps down into the middle of his team and yells, hey! You 3, identify yourselves. Gaara stops and all 3 sand nin turn to face Sasuke again, but Gaara was starting to look annoyed. And before Temari can put on her flirty smile and answer, Naruto interrupts. The blonde's name is Temari. The ugly lady in the makeup's name is Kankuro. This got a furious expression from Kankuro, who had cringe in pain when more blood gushed out of his nose. And the last one's name is Gaara, the demon of the sand, right? Suddenly everyone is silent as if the gust of air that blew past them stole their voices. Gaara's eyes are the usual murderous glare, but there is surprise in them too. And you are the demon of the leaf part of Team S, did I get that right? You have. It stays quiet as they stare each other down recognizing the demonic presence between them. And then Gaara turns to his team and says, we have places to be, let's go. And I will be seeing you soon I hope. As the sand team turns their backs Sasuke steps forward and boldly declares, and my name is. Who cares, is what Sasuke hears interrupt him from Gaara as he jumps off with his siblings just behind. Sasuke rages internally and decides to take his anger out on his troublemaking teammate. Naruto, leave it to you to start an international incident with another village 30 minutes after they enter ours. Sasuke and Sakura turn around to face Naruto, to find that in the spot where he was standing before was a strange pear-shaped blow-up figure with Naruto drawn on it, giving him the middle finger with kanji for losers written on its chest. Naruto, you son of a bitch, get back here. Sasuke raged and then ran off across the rooftops hunting for his teammate. Sakura just stood shaking her head, then a thought came up. Hunting for Naruto could be good training. I'll catch him, and maybe since I have a clear head I'll beat you, Sasuke. And then she joined in the hunt, living up to her challenge and running as fast as Sasuke. The next day Sakura was walking through the streets looking at her shoulder, which had a nasty purple bruise on it the day before was now pink and healthy again. It's hard to get used to the idea that a good night's sleep heals most wounds that used take me a week to feel better. I got to hand it to you, Naruto, you're vicious enough to pull my arm out of the socket yesterday, but your powers sure are fun to share now. And it wasn't just the healing that surprised her, but after healing every muscle that she pushed to the literal breaking point had grown back just as lean but stronger than before. She was feeling herself quickly gain in strength over the last month, and her team's impromptu training had proved yesterday that each of them was stronger than they had ever felt before. Those thoughts allow her to walk a little more proudly, her head a little higher and her walk a little smoother. Villagers she noticed would point and stare now, whispering to each other as she strode by. It boosted her ego and she was feeling very good about herself. Then that feeling drops like a bowling ball into her gut when she turns the last corner to the bridge her team meets on to find Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi already there waiting for her and calling out to her, "You're late." And, "Yeah, Sakura, what's the deal? You're 3 hours late." Rage pulls her face tight as she stomps forward to yell, "Oh, shut up all of you. I used to be the only one who would come here on time, and now the day that I think I'm being smart for once you show up on time. What the hell, sensei?" Kakashi's face is all humor as he looks up holding his chin in his thinking pose. Well, sometimes I'm on time, usually for the really important things. And this is important. He waves her forward and she continues to curse and talk about conspiracy theories under her breath about boys and messing with girls. When all three teens are standing in front of the Jonin, he hands each of them a form with Chunin exams application forms written on the top. Sakura looks up at Kakashi and says, "Application forms." Which makes Kakashi raise his eyebrow and say, "Duh, Sakura. Now each of you will have to fill those out. And if you feel like you're up to the challenge, then take them to the academy on Friday at 8 a.m. I have pulled you off the mission roster so you can take the week to train and decide if you're taking the Chunin exam. That's it." Each of them stare down at the forms in their hands, and each of them accept the challenge. Looking up at Kakashi, who had already walked away with his book in his hand, they then look to each other. Sasuke is the first to smirk and ask, "Anybody feel like heading over to the depot? I think today's the day I walk out without a single cut." Arguing among themselves, they jumped to the rooftops and raced each other to their insane destination. Team S was going to the Chunin exams. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.